Welcome to another episode of Streaming History. Today we're going to expand a little bit on what we did in broad strokes last time with the Ptolemaic dynasty. We talked about the dynasty ending with Cleopatra, and now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about Cleopatra. So our resident historian, Carrie, I believe, is ready, and I am Drew. I'm the resident economist, and I get to do all the editing, so if you have any comments on the editing, please address them to me. And Carrie, would you like to kick it off?
Yes, today we are going to talk about Cleopatra VII, more in depth than from what we discussed in the Ptolemaic dynasty. She was the last Egyptian pharaoh of the Ptolemaic dynasty, and she is famously associated with Julius Caesar and Marcus Antonius. And the biggest misconception that contemporary society has led us to believe is that Cleopatra was a harlot and a vixen and a murderer and a selfish woman. But that is absolutely not true at all. And today I hope to get that point across, that she was none of those things. But in fact, she was a brilliant strategist, a very smart woman. She was a doctor, an author, a scientist. She conducted medical experiments. She wrote books on medicine and charms and cosmetics. She strategically allied herself with Rome so that Egypt would not fall. She had a dream for Egypt, that Egypt would be, the new Roman Empire, the new empire of the East, and that Alexandria would be the new Rome of the East. And so she worked diligently to make sure that all of those things, would happen. But unfortunately, as we know, that didn't happen. She ended up taking her own life after the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. So what would the economics of the time period been like in Alexandria?
Particularly for Egypt in general, it would have been largely agricultural. And they would have been trading with places in Europe and what we would now call England today for precious metals and other items that they were unable to produce themselves. The olive production, which was prolific in the area, or the era, I should say, was primarily on the northern Mediterranean, places like Greece and the Italian peninsula. And so they would have traded for that there. But the grain production would have been absolutely prolific on the Nile Delta.
All right. Well, one of the big things going on during Cleopatra's reign in Alexandria was the Library of Alexandria. And
I'll cry every time I think of that.
I know, right? Well, she worked diligently, and she worked very hard to promote the Library of Alexandria. She worked with scholars endlessly. She was known to have been a polymer, she mastered everything from mathematics to philosophy. She supported all of there's a lot of sources, Islamic medieval sources, who paint a very different picture of Cleopatra. They paint her, they talk about her as the scholar, the scientist, the doctor, the author. She conducted all these medical experiments and, these science experiments, and she was able to converse with contemporary intellectuals easily. And to take that even further, not only was she able to converse with intellectuals, but she was the only pharaoh who took the time to learn every single language of her people. Like, she learned 9 to 10 language and can speak all of them fluently. She could walk out into the streets and converse with anybody.
People today like that are extremely rare.
Oh, I know. And I thought it was amazing that she was the only pharaoh, and a woman nonetheless, to take the time to do that. Like, that says a lot about how she viewed her people and herself as a ruler. So I found that very fascinating. Plutarch, who was a Greek biographer, also depicts her as a highly intelligent woman who, unlike her Ptolemaic predecessors, actually went to the trouble of learning the language of her subjects. He reports, moreover, that she conversed easily with Ethiopians, Troglodytes, Hebrews, Arabians, Syrians, Medes, and Parthians in their own language. Like, Those are insane languages, but she learned all of them, and I thought that was just absolutely wonderful. She connected with her people. They've recently found coins depicting Cleopatra's image. She was supposed to have been this, really beautiful Egyptian, goddess, but in fact, it shows the coins depict her very Greek features. Like she has a big hooked nose and bad teeth and high forehead. But one of the awesome things about these coins is that these coins were made of bronze. And for this time period, silver and gold were what rulers used to depict their image on. And so when it was distributed among the wealthy only. By using bronze and putting her image on a bronze coin, that coin was able to be distributed among the wealthy and the lower classes alike. Like everybody got to see her image. And by putting her image out there for everyone to see instead of just the noble class, she was able to profess her power of Egypt. And I thought that was brilliant as a strategist.
Yes, and from an economics perspective, that would have been a huge boost to the economy, because now you've got more and more people trading with coin instead of trying to barter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's see, what else? So she is infamously known as allying herself with Rome, beginning with Julius Caesar. And Cleopatra had watched her father and his father and how they dealt with Rome. And her father, when he was younger, him and his brother, their father, had been murdered. But Rome had split. Rome had took the two brothers and put someone in charge of the two brothers to watch over them until they grew up to rule Egypt. And so she had watched her father and these people who had control over them. She had watched Rome's influence throughout her entire childhood. So she knew that by allying herself with Rome, Rome would make a better, friend than enemy. Like she would improve Egypt. She would further Egypt economically, politically, militarily, culturally by allying herself with Rome. And so this is what she did. She did that. And so she married Julius Caesar, and they had one son together, Caesarion, which is, means little Caesar. But they did have one son together, but as we all know, that Julius Caesar did not, come to a very, pretty end. He was assassinated on the Ides of March, on the Ides of March in 44 BC. So after Julius Caesar was murdered, she had to take her kid and flee back to Egypt in case something bad happened to her. But after, Julius Caesar's death, she still needed somebody to ally Egypt with. Like she can't just leave Egypt, going nowhere, doing nothing. She still has to ally herself with Rome. So, and she does this brilliantly with Marcus Antonius, or Mark Antony, as we know him. And so he became in charge of the Eastern Empire. And so by being in charge of the Eastern part, that's how he met Cleopatra. And when he did, their meeting was so, it was so Cleopatra. She knew she had to make this alliance work. And so what she did, she made this grand entrance of, solid gold and luxury, basically just swept Mark Antony off of his feet. Like he fell for all of it right away. So much so that they ended up having 3 children together. And she had 2 boys and a girl. And so she had 4 children between Julius Caesar and Marcus Antony. And that's what she wanted. She wanted her dream for Egypt to grow. Like she wanted Egypt to be the empire. Like she wanted her and Antony to just rule together in this vast empire, and everybody looked to them. Like Rome would be out of the picture. Everybody would look to Alexandria. And in 31 BC, September 2nd, 31 BC, actually, the Battle of Actium was a big naval battle fought between Marcus Antony and Cleopatra and Octavian. And they lost. And Cleopatra's tomb has never been found. And so we're hoping that I'm following the work of this amateur archaeologist, Kathleen Martinez. I'm hoping that with her future dig sites, like she's working at Taposiris, I'm hoping they find her tomb really soon. And I have a lot of faith that she can do this. I'm really looking forward and excited about her work.
She's actually finding some clues that have been not found by other people who dug around in that area.
Oh, absolutely. And she's, see, this is just an abandoned temple complex. You know, archaeologists have been studying around this for years, but they've never found anything. So they've just ignored Taposiris completely. So what they've done, what she has done, she's went in there and she's found all of these little things that apply to the Ptolemaic dynasty, that, you know, this is a Ptolemaic temple site. Like, this is her family. This is where they come to worship. This was a big deal during her time period. So I think they're very close to finding her tomb. So I'm very excited about her work.
That would be exciting.
Yes. So after she took her life, Little Caesar, her and Julius Caesar's son, they ended up murdering him. Octavian, who won the Battle of Actium, changed his name to Augustus Caesar, which would make it officially the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning and rise of the Roman Empire. And it would be the last Egyptian pharaoh that Egypt would ever see, and a woman nonetheless. So her children by Marcus Antony, they were able to live their lives and go on. They let them just carry on. But her dream, when Cleopatra died, when she took her own life, she realized that her dream for Egypt was dead. There was no way that she was going to be able to, there was no way she was going to be able to
continue the
promote
dynasty.
Egypt or continue the dynasty. Exactly. Continue the dynasty or promote Egypt in the way that she held in her heart that it should be. And when she saw that all of it was over, everything had come crashing down, that was the only choice that was left, was to take her own life, because Octavian had threatened her. You know, he was going to take her back to Rome and parade her through the streets in chains and, you know, naked and as a slave, you know, to Octavian.
Yeah.
So didn't want that. You know, she didn't want any of that. So there was really, you know, no choice left but to take her own life. And that was 300 years of the Ptolemaic dynasty, and that was Cleopatra the 7th.